Hello, I'm Joe, I'm 17, and this is Beth.
Hi, I'm Beth, I'm 19 years old, and we're both students from the Felixstowe area.
Today we're going to be talking about how technology is changing the way stories are told. Recently, Amazon has announced Kindle Unlimited, which is a new scheme that they've got in place. You pay a fixed monthly payment for access to loads and loads and loads of books. It's really good for the readers, but it's kind of screwing authors over a little bit because you get paid, pretty much Amazon just determines how much you get paid, and it's probably not going to be that much. And you have to be exclusive to Amazon to be able to get onto the scheme. So there's kind of a bit of controversy there, really.
Yeah, I think that's true. There is a lot of controversy at the moment, as the authors must be exclusive to Amazon. So there isn't really much freedom for them to just like go with any other kind of companies or people. And also, even though maybe it's easier to distribute the stories online because of the progression of technology and distribute the stories, they're kind of losing out a bit on this one.
Yeah, and I think this increased ease of distribution is what's causing some of these things, like because it's so much more competitive now because everybody can write pretty much whatever they want. You can just like get a website and type it up and it's there. I think this increased competition has led to wages going down, and I don't know, some people argue that it's even led to the quality of stories going down.
Yeah, I think that's true. And also big franchises out there like YouTube, BuzzFeed, Facebook stories are kind of circulating more online, and there's more interest for viewers, but it's not really on the same level as traditional books, for instance, Charles Dickens or Jane Austen. In the past, Charles Dickens would have had less competition because he was one of the only really big, there wasn't loads of competition out there at the time, whereas BuzzFeed, which isn't really that, is kind of suffering more today because it's just writing a load of...
BuzzFeed is the thing on Facebook you see where it's like, you won't believe what happens next, or 20 ways that you
20
can
ways
lose.
to get slimmer, or...
Yeah, things like that. I think that's quite an interesting point, really. But I do think that there's a sort of perception that the internet has caused attention spans of viewers to go down, and I'm not sure whether that perception has as much weight as some people give it. I don't know. I think there are examples of things that have been run on the internet which are a lot more kind of long, substantial. Yeah, even more substantial than the stuff that's been done by Charles Dickens or Jane Austen.
Also, people have short attention spans when they're online. They're looking for something that's going to like grab them instantly. For example, for the first 10 seconds, that's when you're going to interest your viewer. So perhaps after a while, you're going to lose your viewer if you don't grab them instantly.
That was the kind of point that I was arguing against, because actually there are examples of things like, a good example of this would be Homestuck. It's a webcomic that's ran on the internet, but that is huge. Like, it's a webcomic, and it's got more words in it than a lot of Charles Dickens or Jane Austen's books, really. I think this is an example of, and it's got a huge fan base as well. They raised millions to make a game out of it. So it's an example of somewhere where actually the internet hasn't caused attention spans to decrease. This is something massive, and people have devoted a lot of time into reading this.
Yeah, and also another point should be mentioned is that Lizzie Bennet's diaries that she's doing, an example of a modern YouTube channel, is another way in which stories are being told online.
Yeah, the Lizzie Bennet diaries is... The protagonist is the character Lizzie Bennet from Pride and Prejudice, set in the modern day. The events of Pride and Prejudice happen to her, and she vlogs about them. So you hear vlogs as the events that happen in the book occur to her. I think the final example of this would be the Oxcast, which is a YouTube channel that was set up. They're really popular now, but their starting series was... They played a video game, and I find it's kind of quite interesting.
It's kind of strange and bizarre, isn't it?
They played a video game, and then they... As the video game progressed, stuff began happening to them that couldn't possibly happen in the video game, and as it went on and on, it became more and more obvious that they were actually acting, and that there were other people in the video game who were interacting with them, who were like setting stuff up for them, and they were pretending that they didn't know what was going on when really they did.
They did. So they kind of, for a while, people thought, they weren't really sure what was going on, but then they realised in the end that they kind of knew that it was all kind of a bit of a trick. They weren't in on it to begin with, but then they tended to be later on.
And I think the final point would be CGI and stuff like that, which I think we'll go into next part, about how CGI is affecting the way we tell stories and how it's like...
And how it's changed.
Yeah, and how it's changing the way we tell stories.
Yeah. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll be back next to discuss the effects and qualities of the way stories are told online. Thank you.